No,
Fractions.
Fractions.
Dividing integers. So remember, a positive times a positive was a
Positive.
A positive times a positive, like 2 times 4 is positive 8, right? Okay. What about a negative times a negative? That's also a positive, right? But then when we have opposite signs,
it's going to equal a negative.
Right. So a negative times a positive is a negative. Guess what? Dividing is the same way. So if I have a positive divided by a positive, that equals a positive. If I have a negative divided by a negative, that also equals a positive. If I have a positive divided by a negative, it's negative, and a negative divided by a positive is negative. The thing is, with division, there's so many more ways I could write it. I could also write it like this. A positive divided by a positive equals a positive. A negative divided by a negative equals a positive. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. And a negative number divided by a positive number equals a negative. So this, a lot of times in elementary school, they teach you that this little bar means a fraction. Well, it does, but it also means divided by. Every single fraction is a division problem. So if I wrote out a problem like this, 10 over 2, there's a much simpler way of writing it, which is simply 10 divided by 2 is 5. Right? So this is just like another way of writing division, other than writing it like this. And there's also other ways, like you guys probably learned long division, where you write this little, like the long division symbol, right? Okay, yeah, and there are other ways as well. So let me just do a couple more examples. 10 divided by 2 is 5. What if I had something like 81, negative 81 divided by negative 9. So first thing I'm going to do is look at the signs. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 81 divided by 9 is
positive 9.
9. Yeah. Okay, what if I had something like positive 54 divided by negative 3? So for that one, you might want to do long division, right?
Negative.
So we know the answer is negative. Good. And then I might, over on the side of my paper, I might do 54 divided by 3. 3 goes into 5. 1,
so that's
3,
2 remaining. So 3 goes into 24. 8 times, so 18.
18. So it's negative 8. And if you know a different way of doing long division, it's totally fine. Right? Totally fine.
Like 54 divided by 3. And then that's what the 54 would be on top of the insert going and stuff. That's what it comes to.
Interesting.
It's confusing in the operations.
So you just do it kind of like the other.
I don't subtract anything. Oh,
maybe we'll have you show everyone after the video. Alright, last example. What if I had a negative? Maybe I've got negative 20 divided by a positive, maybe number 4. What would our answer be?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Yeah. So this is pretty simple after already learning and practicing this yesterday, because it's basically the same rule, right? It's not a lot different than yesterday. It's kind of like negatives cancel each other out, but if there's only one of them, the answer is negative, right? So when we're multiplying and dividing, these rules are basically the same. A positive and a positive make a positive. A negative and a negative make a positive. A positive and a negative make a negative, or a negative and a positive. Here's the trick though. Tomorrow we're going to start looking at what would you guess? We did multiplying integers, dividing integers. Yeah, tomorrow we'll look at adding integers. And the rules are going to be totally different. Okay? So what I want you to really be paying attention to is thinking about, as you're doing these problems, okay, I'm dividing. And dividing follows these rules, right? Or these rules, or these rules. Because adding will not follow those rules. So really think about your signs ahead of time. Think about, okay, do I have a negative over a negative? I know my answer right away is going to be positive. Right?
So just memorize them.
Yeah, so you should have these rules totally memorized.
Okay.
Right? And you should be doing that like as your first step on the homework. So if you have something like, let's do a couple more examples. If you have something like 24 divided by negative 3. First step, we say, okay, a positive divided by a negative is
A negative.
a negative. And then I do 24 divided by 3 is?
24 divided by 3 is 8.
So my answer is negative 8. Okay, and then what if I had something like 16, actually let's make them both negative. Negative 16 divided by negative 4. First thing I say, a negative divided by a negative is a
Positive.
positive, so I have a positive answer. 16 divided by 4 is
4.
4, so my answer is positive 4. So do you see how I'm kind of doing those two steps?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the rules first and then the division. Just like we did with multiplication. Okay, very good. Nice and short video today.